How's it going, Ram fans? Welcome back to another week of CTV Sports. I'm Mike Walsh.
And I'm Ella Fredrikson, and here are your top stories for the week.
Colorado State Volleyball looks to build off a strong start to conference play, taking on Air Force in Colorado Springs on Thursday.
Poudre School District gets ready for the Canvas Community Classic this Friday as CSU welcomes local area high schools to Canvas Stadium. This is their first taste of some real league play.
And finally, Hot or Not returns as we once again will make some picks for some notable games on the horizon.
All that and more right here on CTV Sports, which starts right now.
As always, we'll kick things off with CSU football. Now, I would really love to come on every week and keep this positive attitude, but it's getting pretty pathetic at this point. Always hoping for something and nothing ever coming. Colorado State lost a big one again, this time to the Sacramento State Hornets. The Rams really did not show much in this one, although we did see some quality drives that produced two scores, a field goal and a 53-yard receiving touchdown by arguably the best player in the green and gold, Torrey Horton. However, outside of those two, CSU was basically non-existent in this one and just seemed to be slowly going through the motions. The opposite was true for the Hornets, though, putting up points in every quarter, including 17 in the second. So overall, not a good showing for the Rams, and head coach Jay Norvell knows it. And he seems like he feels the same as all Ram fans. Here's what he had to say after the game.
So the guys that we have got to get better. You know, the guys that have played these last couple weeks that are new players, they have to show improvement. And we have to help to get them better. And, you know, we can't blame players as coaches. There are players. And so we gotta help them get better, and they have to work to get better.
Yeah, I definitely agree, Coach. Look, Sacramento State is decent, but Colorado State is not the type of program that should be losing by this much to an FCS school. I mean, look at that final score. CSU lost by 31 points, just embarrassing. And we see more of what we've seen all year from the Rams, worse stats than their opponent. Not only did the Hornets have over 100 more total yards, but they also had 15 more first downs. No team is ever going to seriously challenge with these type of numbers in the box score. And Norvell isn't alone. The players also expressed their disappointment and emphasized group effort in their post-game interviews.
It's easy to point fingers, but you know, it's harder to look at yourself in the mirror and say what I need to do better. So I think we all need to do that, different areas, and just go from there.
We're worried about what can we all do to turn this thing around, not focus on who messed up in the past and none of that stuff, you know. Whatever each person can get better on, each unit, each side of the ball can get better on, that's what we're going to do.
Now, we did see some pockets of encouragement. Rams' true freshman quarterback, Braden Fowler-Nicolosi, replaced Clay Millen in the second quarter following a shoulder injury. And despite not throwing any passes this year, Fowler-Nicolosi was actually quite efficient in his first appearance calling the plays. However, it was a short-lived success as he only completed 2 more passes outside of that second quarter. So clearly the Rams have a lot to figure out in these next few practices, but we'll have to pause for 10 days before determining whether those changes come to fruition or not, as CSU enters its bye week. But Ella, Canvas Stadium won't be totally silent this weekend, now will it?
Well, Mike, no it won't, because a bunch of high school kids will invade Canvas Stadium this Friday, as Colorado State University gears up for the first ever Canvas Community Classic. The series, partnered with Campus Credit Union and Shields, will feature doubleheader football games between Poudre School District's 4 comprehensive high schools. This event signifies the decades-long collaborating efforts and relationship between PSD and CSU. I'm so excited to see these young athletes battle it out on sunny Lubick Field. It might actually give us something to finally cheer about this year, considering the way CSU football has been playing. Nonetheless, let's get right into the matchups. Rocky Mountain High School and Poudre High School will kick off the festivities Friday afternoon at 4:30. Entering league play and the second half of the schedule, both teams are coming off blowout victories, with Poudre winning its last 4 straight. The source of Poudre's recent surge is a much more balanced offense. Yes, the defense has been outstanding, but the development of quarterback Quentin Harms has been huge. After a rough 3-interception outing 3 weeks ago to Castleview, the senior signal caller has finally put it all together, using his 6'2" frame to make plays and air it out deep. That, combined with a well-established rushing attack, has made the Impala's offense more versatile and dangerous, especially in the red zone. This is a significant contrast to the opposite playbook, where the Rocky Mountain Lobos rely almost solely on their ground game, led by their stellar running back. Junior Abe Chatilla runs the show, averaging around 30 carries and accumulating over 100 yards in every game so far. The Lobos H-back is explosive, reaching the end zone 7 times, 4 of which in their lopsided win against Horizon last Friday. If the Rockies O-line can create lanes and space for Chatilla, it's going to be a long night for Pooter's front 7. However, if the past 2 weeks are a tale of anything, that's most likely not going to be the case. You see, the Impala's run defense has been insane as of late, surrendering a mere 2.15 yards per carry in the last 2 games. Chatilla versus Pooter's front will definitely be a matchup worth watching. But now, Mike, I want to hear more about the second contest on tap for the night. What can you tell us about the Fort Collins-Fossil Ridge rivalry?
Yeah, Ella, well, I can tell you one thing. They don't like each other at all. This meeting is one that each fan base always marks and underlines on their calendars following the schedule release. But the past 5 weeks have yielded a totally different fate for both squads. And what's interesting, that it's completely reversed compared to a season ago. If you rewind the clocks back a year, it was Fort Collins that positioned itself in the driver's seat for a playoff-bound run, defeating the SaberCats 34-23 in the process 382 days ago. Though it was a close one throughout, even seeing a SaberCat lead heading into the fourth quarter, the Lambkins persevered for a double-digit nod. But that was then, and this is now. Fort Collins and Fossil Ridge will battle it out this Friday at 7 in Canvas Stadium for Round 2 of the Canvas Community Classic. And oh, had the tables turned? Fossil Ridge gloats with an impressive 4-1 record, while Fort Collins sports the opposite of that. And unlike Pooter, as Ella mentioned, the Lambkins have lost their last 4 straight. To be honest, I don't know what happened since 2021. I mean, I guess Fort Collins did lose 2 of their star players, Dorian McGarity and Dante Johnson, but I did not think it would be this detrimental to the team. What's worse is that the Lambkins' lone win on the season comes courtesy of a slim 1-point edge over Denver East, not helping their negative 89-point differential too much. Crazier things have occurred, but the way Fossil Ridge has been playing recently, I would be nervous if I were a Lambkins fan. There's a lot to like about this SaberCats team. Head coach Jeff Fulton is loaded with so many weapons on this offense, especially wide receiver Trek Keyworth. The 6'2 senior has size and speed, making him a vertical threat anywhere. We're in late September and Keyworth has already had 29 receptions for nearly 500 yards with 3 touchdowns. That means he's averaging almost 100 yards through the air. The Lambkins secondary must put a limit on his playmaking abilities if they want to get off the field. Unfortunately for Keyworth, first-team All-Conference and absolute gunslinger Tyler Kubat went down against Brighton 3 weeks ago and hasn't played since. Thankfully, though, that hasn't stopped Keyworth's productivity too much, as dual-threat quarterback Colton Powlock has stepped up with both his legs and his arms. Powlock actually leads the team in rushing yards, and right behind him is sophomore Jake Toshkoff. So like I said, lots to look forward to this week with SaberCats offense, and whether Fort Collins can stop all of them is the question, and we'll just have to wait and see come Friday night. But putting aside football, let's get back to CSU athletics. Ella, how does the looming volleyball schedule look?
Thanks, Mike. Well, the girls are currently coming off a big 1-2-3 sweep over UNLV last week. And that was a big deal because last year in Moby, CSU fell in a heartbreaker to UNLV in 5 sets. And before Thursday, the Rebels were cruising rather nicely this season. However, the Rams stuffed any hopes of a road upset by the Rebels, with CSU middle blocker Malaya Jones crediting the front court for the convincing victory.
I think what we really had to focus on was being really focused on our blocking. I think that was a really, really big determiner on why we were so successful tonight, because they're a great offensive team, and so we had to learn how to be quick with our blocking, quick with our hands, and being very quick with our schemes, and staying true to those schemes.
The Rams will now pivot for a brief road trip, starting with the Air Force Falcons down south. And just a short 48 hours later, CSU will be in Albuquerque, New Mexico for a matchup against the Lobos. Although exposure outside Moby has been minimal and shaky with that, I believe CSU has finally settled into its groove. Now, there have been moments this year when I've noticed the Rams fall almost without fail. Whether it be a serving, finishing, or an energy issue, they've definitely had difficulty closing out a match when having a strong start. That being said, I believe last week's sweep is where that streak breaks. Now, I know what you're thinking. We've swept schools in the past. What makes this one different? Fair question. And the answer is conference play. Yes, every match matters, Mountain West or not, but once the teams familiar with Moby and CSU come in and fall that hard, it's a different type of momentum. The Mountain West is a league to watch this year, as 9 out of 11 teams have made it to this point with a winning record, 2 of them being Air Force and New Mexico. The Lobos are going to be a much heftier task than the Falcons, as New Mexico currently sits at 10-2, with their only losses coming to Boise State, otherwise known as the top dog, and South Dakota about a month ago. Although I wish this one could be played in Moby to give CSU that extra nudge, this match is sure to separate the top from the middle in the standings. On the Air Force side of things, the Falcons have had a rough opening conference slate so far, getting shot down by both Utah State and previously mentioned Boise. If CSU can dominate throughout rather than struggling to complete 3 sets, they'll improve to 3-0 in conference play easily. As always, tune into CTV next week for a complete breakdown of these results to find out where the Rams were able to stack up. And Mike, speaking of New Mexico, how did soccer fare this week against the Lobos?
Well, Ella, what you'd expect from CSU this year, a draw. However, it did keep a mere unbeaten streak alive thanks to a shutout win against San Diego State earlier. And the game itself was an entertaining one all throughout. The Lobos were solid competition and basically matched CSU in every stat. The play on the pitch was active, with 16 total shots in the first half and 20 in the second. 2 of them hitting the back of the net, 1 for each squad. This was a highly contested battle, an energetic one too, witnessing a much higher number of scoring chances than what is accustomed to with Rams soccer this year. CSU now looks to sustain the loss column with more wins and fewer ties as they host Boise State Thursday afternoon at 3. Now soccer is tiring, but there's another sport that's tiring in a drastically different way. Ella, how did CSU club hockey do in its season opener?
Well, Mike, over the weekend, the CSU men's hockey team welcomed Metro State University over at the Adora Pool and Ice Center. And boy, did the Rams come away from it happy. Quick into the first period, it was clear the green and gold controlled the pace of the game, taking care of the puck and putting it constant pressure on the forecheck. As a result, this was the recipe for a nightmare outing for Metro State goaltender Dylan Wild. The Rams sniped 7 past him, accumulating to a final score of 7-0. But when you look closer at the final stat sheet, the lopsided results seem relatively strange. The Roadrunners were actually able to get off 6 more shots on goal, but Rams netminder Sam Simon was magnificent, stopping all 40 pucks that came his way and finishing with a shutout. On the other hand, Wild was only able to get in front of 27 of 34 he faced, ending the night with a displeasing .794 save percentage. CSU stayed consistent and strong for the entire 60 minutes, and this proved significant as the Rams were unable to capitalize on their numerous power plays. But on the other hand, they also prevented the Roadrunners from even getting a single shot off through 8 minutes of their man advantages. And most obviously, like hockey always is, the game was non-stop physical. I mentioned the numerous power plays, and by the end of the night, 8 penalties were assessed. 4 on each side. The sin bin was busy, especially in the later periods. Regardless of the hitting, the highlight was Rams forward Riley Hunt-Ban, who not even halfway through the first period recorded his 2nd goal, 1 shy of a hat trick. Unfortunately, that lucky 3rd never came, but his teammates picked him up with the succeeding 5. 2 days later, the Rams took the drive down I-25 to duel the Roadrunners on their home ice in Denver, but picked up yet another W. A little more competitive this time, though, 4-2. Up next for Colorado State is another home game facing the University of Central Oklahoma Friday evening. I don't know, Mike, just being in that environment, I would love to see CSU promote their hockey team a little bit more and maybe have them end up D1 rather than just club.
No, hockey is a super entertaining sport.
Yeah.
I mean, that is like one of the most fun atmospheres to ever be in, and they would definitely get a ton of fans here from CSU.
No, absolutely. And even if you're just going for the hits or just going for the fights, it's still fun. I mean, CSU knows how to put the puck in the net. They're a really, really, really fun team to watch no matter who they're playing, and the fans are loyal.
I mean, if you got like all these fans out here, all the action, I mean, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Especially with how some other CSU sports are going right now.
maybe
we need a winning team. When we come back, CTV future reporter Madeline Davis joins us in the studio for a special interview with one of our very own international student athletes.
Plus, we'll give you an update on how cross country and women's golf fared in their recent outings. All of that and more on CTV Sports.